Yet. Say it again. Obi-Wan? OBS. If you want to help me with that, I'd be happy to get help. I spent at least 20 minutes yesterday, and after 20 minutes, I couldn't do it. And it's almost like you can see me live. All right, so can we just do something real quick? Can you log on to that YouTube site? Do you know my YouTube site? Okay, so do not start like flooding the channels with a bunch of nonsense. Don't like, and certainly when you do flood the channels, don't call my mother anything unjust. Let's stay professional is what I mean to say. This is a professional setting. Let's stay professional. If you need access to this, this is going to be at appliedlinearalgebra.com. That's actually the name of my YouTube channel, and I think these are capitals. Okay, so is anybody logged in right now? I'd like one question to be posted at this moment. Oh, cool. Yay! Okay, so sup, Jeff, full matrix. You're matrix? Oh my God, that's beautiful. Does anybody not have access to the ability to ask me questions? If you don't have access to the ability to ask me questions in this situation, what I'd love is that somebody next to you, like it would be nice to be able to have everybody have the ability to ask a question without having to raise their hand, right? And then I'll see that as I'm working. Let me set up the next stage of this phase, which is, let's save changes. Okay, so now I want to record. Camera. That's really sad. Okay, and then. Hi, man. All right. So let's record.
Everybody like it.
No, you don't have to like it.
Have as many likes as views.
Can we have more likes than views? You have officially broken Google, they would say.
Put this guy on like 1.5 speed.
What? All right. So are we there?
Oh, let's see.
So I'll let you kind of get up and running. We're going to try to, this is all new. So we're going to figure this out as a team. We're going to figure out what the best scenario is for us to be able to record questions as I talk. You can also tell me to slow down. You can tell me to go faster. Have you noticed this room? Okay, this is me editing myself. Have you noticed this room is less than optimal for computer lab learning? You know what we did last quarter when we were in this room? We literally, so for example, I really don't like this setup. We literally would just pick up the desks, move them right in front of the screen, and then the one condition was at the end of class you have to move them back. These things, this would be a 90 rotation, that was a 90 rotation, these things. I like that much better. Every single time we were in this class, we would actually shift the desks so you could be facing forward. This one would come out right here, that one would come out right there. I am happy to make that happen right now. The one condition that I have for all of us is when we leave this room, we're back into this scenario so that the maintenance staff and the next lab person doesn't run into that problem. So before we get started with the formal lecture, if you feel that it would be easier to follow this presentation by turning your desks, Please help each other get into a scenario that is comfortable in that situation. How many people are willing to help get the desks back at the end of the class? Do not leave this class unless they're back. I can't do that because I'm old and frail. Okay, go, get your desks forward. Get them in a scenario that's going to be best helpful for you to follow lecture.
Can I ask one question? I need to like 30 minutes early because I have to pick up my relative who doesn't speak English from the airport and drop her at
I think you already finished, right?
Yeah, my life. And I can submit it now?
No. If you submit it now, I might lose it.
Ah, okay. So at 12, yeah?
Yeah.
When the laptop is okay.
You are super strong. I can't believe by myself. Oh my god, that's awesome. Look. We'll do it in series.
Yeah.
You need a computer? And you need a computer. You have your ready.
Yeah, it's right.
Hey, Ted,
Yeah,
did you collect these?
not collecting the lab until 12.
Oh, okay.
Lynn and Jen, do you want to put your desk on, or are you okay like that? This is dangerous. This is a little better. Now you just don't go through there, right? If there is a fire, stay calm. I'm serious, because right now this would be a hazard, right? There's an exit over here.
And make sure you take the desk back in place.
Wesley and Nick, would you help? Yeah, we're still live streaming. Okay. And then the last thing that I need is my eraser. So I can write that down. All right, so today we are going to work on lesson 1, part 1. And I want to start with the following situation. So this is going to be lesson 1, part 1. As a friendly reminder, let me go ahead and project what I said yesterday. Oh. If we go to the course homepage, appliedlinearalgebra.com, many of you already finished this. The course homepage is Engineering 11. So we go down to here. Handwritten notes for today are right here. I am literally going to be orating these notes. I'm not going to read them word for word, obviously, because that is boring. But we're going to be working through, hopefully, all 39 pages. When we are done with this, my expectation is that you can solve this set of problems by yourself. So a really good way to make sure that you're ready is to follow along, see if you can capture all those scenarios, and then at the end, test yourself by being able to discuss these things. If you would like, I can post the work that I make in MATLAB. I'm going to make some work over here. I can post that online. You can tell me if you want me to do that later today. You don't have to make a decision at this moment. The first thing that I want to say is that MATLAB is a portmanteau. I really don't know how to pronounce that word. Let me write it for you. Anybody remember? Oh yeah, there it is. So there's an English word, P-O, port, man, and it looks like French. Anybody know how to say that one? Okay, you can look it up for yourself. It means that it's the concatenation of two words. Matrix, laboratory. And the reason that that's important is that MATLAB focuses on the vectorization of code. And another way to say this is it is a vectorized language specifically designed to do scientific computation via matrices. Matrix operations. So the whole idea, this is a modeling language that's specifically designed to do matrices, and it is a special purpose programming language. So with this in mind, I want to talk about some different features of the MATLAB window. If you want to, so once you've opened this, anybody have not have MATLAB open? So let's get it all open. I'm going to recommend that until you decide which format you want for MATLAB, that we use this format. So in particular, over here, I don't like that this is, the full screen is not really full screen. Or maybe at break time, you can come help me clean this up a little bit. Thank you. Because I can't see the left part of my screen on this sucker. Okay, so any of these things you can drag and click. You see that? So the way that I like this one is to have the current folder over here. I like to bring the workspace over there. I'm going to bring this thing in. What did I do with my life? There's that. So current folder's over there. And then workspace. Do you see workspace? There's workspace. Over there. Command was in the middle. Command history. We can actually close that right now if you'd like. So let's go ahead and close the command history. We'll get back to it. So now we have this three-panel thing going on. Anytime we want to switch this, we can hit this layout button. So if I wanted my command history to be docked, right, that gives me a list of all the commands. We'll talk about this in a sec. But really just kind of play around with the surface. I'm going to suggest to follow along with my stuff written that we do it like this to begin with. So get it like command current folder on the left, command window in the middle, and workspace on the right. So I think this is called the default layout. Apparently, we can check by going up here and hitting default. Oh, okay. So I guess it's a little different from when I did this first. Okay. So that's the default layer. Did you see that? I go here. I hit default. I could do a 3-column. I could do all but the command window memorized. I could do command window only. So let's start with default. All right. So the next thing that I want to do is open the command history. So let's go ahead and go down to command history. The drop-down menu comes out. Let's dock it. In this case, I'm going to bring it all the way over to the left and then open this. I don't want you all to be confused by everything over here. So let's see if I can clear the command history. Do you see such a thing? One of the things I want you all to learn is to push buttons and break stuff. So many of my students think that they're going to learn MATLAB by watching me do MATLAB and then just replicating what I do. You will get a good, very surface level understanding if you do that. You'll get a much better understanding of MATLAB. If you have any questions, just start pushing buttons and then reading the items. This takes a lot of self-control to do this, but it is something that I'm going to teach you I am going to encourage you to get good at. The best way to learn this software is to look for features that you want and not stop searching until you find them. Okay, so now that we're in this space, I want to call out some features of this thing. Current folder is up here. Workspace, we'll put up this way. And yeah, so this over here is called the command window. This is where all great things happen in terms of simple processing. So MATLAB can be used as a simple computer. For example, I could say A equals 12, A plus 13. Any guesses that's what's going to be stored there? Very nicely done, Shayan. 25. Now there's a variable in my workspace. Over here, that's workspace. Over here is command window. Over there is current folder. When would you know that a particular sub menu, I forget what these are called right now, windows, how do you know which window is activated right now? Yeah, the blue highlighting, right? So right now the workspace is activated. What variables are stored in memory? A and ants, right? What if I wanted to get rid of A? You see it? And then it clears from the workspace. Over here, this is the workspace. It gives us an introduction to all the variables that are stored. I can customize this thing by choosing my columns. Did you see that? So I go, let's say I wanted to see more information. Choose columns. Let's say I wanted to see the size of variables. Oh, God. Now, that's not a lot of space that I've given myself. Let's say that I wanted to see the data class, right? Play around. Do one that I'm not showing you. If you get through this quarter only following along my work, then I have failed you as a teacher and I should go homeless. One of the skills I want you to learn is that you're going to have to push buttons and break stuff. My hope is that every one of you start to learn features about MATLAB that I don't know. And that's not that hard to do. Poke around, ask questions, you'll find it within a week. Okay. So this thing over here, this is called the workspace window. Could you guess what this one's called? The command history window, that's right. It gives a list of everything that I've typed in MATLAB. So let's say that I wanted to know the sine of pi. Any guesses of what MATLAB will return if I say sine of pi? Welcome to scientific computation. Welcome to scientific computation. We're going to leave that question open. This is a very beautiful thing. What about this over here? Could you guess what this is? Check out where I'm sitting right now. This is the path in which MATLAB is saving data. So one of the things that I'd like to do is to navigate to a different path. So in particular, I'm going to go to users. I guess I'm a student, huh? That's cool. Instead of going to documents, what I'd really like to do is go to desktop. Do you see desktop? I'm going to encourage you all right now to go to your desktop and to make a new folder if you haven't done so already. If you have a folder in which you're going to save your MATLAB information, then get there. Otherwise, I'm going to call this engineering_11. I suppose this is winter 2000, winter 2020. Okay, so now I'm going to go within that. This is now in my operating system, not in MATLAB. I suppose one of the things that we're going to need to do is to track in-class meeting resources, right? Okay, and let's go ahead and do this by date. If you do not have an organization system with deep thinking, you can go ahead and copy mine. If you do, just ignore me. Today is the 8th, correct? This is Wednesday's class. This is class 2. And we're doing lesson 1. I guess I don't actually have to do that. Okay. So now I have an organizational system in which I can store data. This is all important for scientific computation because if you work on a project for 5 years and you can't find your own documents, that's a problem. Okay, so now I go to desktop. I go down to winter 2011. 2020, sorry. I go to in-class meetings. I go here. Now my, that's not what I wanted. PWD, print working directory. So the command PWD says print working directory. It says to me, MATLAB, if I save something, so let's pretend that I wanted to save this command history file. I forget how to do that. So I think I could save this thing, and I forget it at the moment. Anybody see it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Save workspace. I learned in MATLAB 2009, and so my brain still functions in that, and they've changed some things since then. It's called being an old man. Do you see that it naturally, the path which I'm saving it, naturally goes to the thing that I've set the working directory to be? So now I don't have to, when I hit save as, it will automatically save this workspace. So this is 2020, 01, 08, Wednesday, class 2, workspace commands. So now if I go back to my desktop, I go into that folder, lo and behold, that workspace is there. I will suggest each of you, every time we're here, create a folder associated with today's work, and then occasionally save the information that you have if you'd like it. There's no real big cost to that. It's 1 kilobyte of data, but it could be that you want to recreate those items. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and clear our screen. CLC clears all of that. What does PWD mean again? Print working directory. What does CLC mean? Clear the screen, clear the command window of everything. It doesn't clear the history, right? I still have my history in case I'd like to see what the sign of pi is. Did you see how I just double clicked on that and it worked? I could also click and drag. So if I want to go back to a command that I've done in the past, I can just click it and drag it. Let's go ahead and clear all memory. Did you see my workspace is now clear? Workspace window is over here. I've cleared all memory. Let's go ahead and clear the command window. If we want to type commands into MATLAB to execute on a line-by-line basis, so this is not a compiled script, it's more like a stream of consciousness mechanism, or like a TI calculator is a good way to think about this. We click on the command window, activate it. This little double arrow right there is called the command prompt. So this thing right there is called the command prompt, and we can type in anything that we'd like to see in MATLAB. Anybody have a favorite function? Say it again. You want pi? MOD. Mod 4, 5 maybe? Mod 6, 5? Can you guess what mod 6, 5 would be? Hyperbolic tangent? I'm supposing that's arctan, right? Oh. That should definitely be pi divided by 2, no? Arctan of 1, pi over 4, no? What? You have to know math to do this?
Stuff about matrix.
Yes, yes, yes. You got to know linear algebra. This is. I do not. I'm on camera and I have to be careful. So yes, this is not your fault. We don't design this class well. Linear algebra should be 4 quarters, and every quarter MATLAB should be integrated into it. If you don't know linear algebra and you're trying to use MATLAB, there are ways to do it, but you will say surface level. You'll be using syntax, and if you ever want to go below the surface, there are going to be some issues, right? But that's okay. So anyways, you see kind of how that whole thing works. One of the things that we'll say is when you want to execute a command, anybody have some favorite functions that you like? I'll just let this get as awkward as possible. Yeah. You want to code a derivative? I think that's symbolic mathematics. Yeah. Let's see. Can we post that question? Can you post that to the live chat? I don't know an answer to that question right now, but I'm sure I can find one. I think that's symbolic. So did you see what I just did there? Anytime I want to learn something about MATLAB, I am going to turn you into MATLAB learners. I'm not going to teach you MATLAB. I'm going to teach you how to teach yourself MATLAB. So the sooner we break that down, I know I said that, the better. I don't know everything about MATLAB. I don't know this answer, for example. I don't use MATLAB to take derivatives. I use Mathematica, right? But the fact of the matter is when we're looking here, if I have help diff, difference in approximate derivatives. So this gives a difference quotient. It looks like it's not there. We don't have an easy answer to that, so let's just avoid it right now, and we'll come back to that later. We have it captured into the live chat, so that's really nice, right? Okay. So let's say that we wanted to suppress output. So anybody have a favorite thing to put into the tangent function? Can you break tangent for me? Yeah, when does tangent break? Yeah, pi over 2. So let's see what happens if we break tangent. Does it actually break? We don't actually know what that number is. Maybe we want to see a longer version of that number. Oh, did you see? So when I put format long, right now, how many decimal places of accuracy are these numbers returning? 5 significant figures in scientific notation. Have you all seen this notation before? So we're going to talk a lot more about scientific notation as we get to know each other. But for now, one of the things that we'll say is 1 point, can someone read that to me, because my
633.
633. So what that means is 1.6331 times 10 to the 16th. So what this should be is, 16th, 16331, 0, 0, 0. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now, the only reason that is that MATLAB is displaying some stuff, which we'll talk about later. I can change the display of it to print out more numbers. So when I type format long, it says show the output in a long format. If I wanted to go back to the short format, could you guess what I might do? Format short. And we'll talk more about this later. But notice the display format is not equal to the value stored in memory. It's just literally saying, what type of information do you want me to display to you as we work with this? Okay. The equal sign in MATLAB is a very special thing. So we're going to track together, we're going to track this concept of what we call, I suppose I should call this, overloaded symbols. So a quick way to think about this is a symbol that has many meanings that depend on context. And if you would allow me to be myself and not somebody that speaks English, so if you allow me to be a mathematician, I'm going to call this an overloaded operator. An overloaded operator is an operator that means different things in different places. In math, when I write 1 plus 2 equals 3, this equal sign is actually, there's two different forms of this equal sign. There's one of them is a calculation and the other one is a truth value, right? If I tell you this, what do you say about that statement? False. So that's called the truth value version. The calculation version of this is sometimes we use equal sign as a placeholder. In this case, so these are math. There are more versions of the equal sign in math. I won't talk about those here today because this is not, strictly speaking, a math class. In computer science, we have something called the, so let's say MATLAB for now, but it is actually a greater thing in all of computer science. We're going to call this the assignment operator. So when I write A equals 2, there's a lot of really special stuff happening in the background. In particular, MATLAB is creating a variable called A. It assigns that variable location in memory, which we'll talk about later. It then creates a value for that, which is literally the flipping of some bits in memory, which another way to say that is a string of voltages. And then in the place of that memory slot, it will store that value. So another way to say this is, take this value and put it into A. That is very, very different than these forms of the operator, right? So when we're writing, when I assign a variable x equal 3, you can think to yourself, MATLAB, if the variable x does not yet exist, please create it, make a space in memory for that variable, and then in the space that you've just made, store the value 3. When I execute that command, do you see that MATLAB automatically outputs x equal 3 to tell me that it's done that? There are a few things that I want to say. If we format compact and I write x equal 3, what do you notice? Less white space in the background, right? And I forget right now how to unformat compact. Like, what's the opposite of uncompact? How would I figure out how to undo format compact? What command am I running there? The format command, right? What if I wanted to get help with the format command? I just had a question and I taught myself the answer to that question, and that was legitimate. I'm not feigning that I didn't know that. I had forgotten it, but I know how to teach myself MATLAB. X equal 3, we're back to the loose format. Let's pretend for a minute that I wanted to suppress the output, that I want to store data without having to look at what the output is. If I type the semicolon in the back, watch this. MATLAB executes that command, saves that value into the variable, and we can see that over here. So let's go back, CLC, let's clear everything. So let's go CLC again, X equal 3. It doesn't look like in the command window that I've done anything, but what do you notice? In the workspace, I definitely have done something, right? In this workspace, you can see that I've actually created the X equal 3. Okay. So we talked about assignment operators. We've talked about how that works. So I guess this is worth doing because we'll talk about this later. This assignment operator has a very, very special syntax. So you can think about syntax as, this is going to be weird giving lectures in like a, oh my God. Okay, so the syntax of an assignment operator. So on the left-hand side, we will always expect what we call a variable name. What was this thing called? You can't even see this. This is like so suboptimal. What was this thing called when we're storing? Working out some kick. It's called the assignment operator, right? I feel drunk. Oh, there it is. And I'm definitely not drunk, so. So variable on the left-hand side, assignment operator on the right-hand side, and then the thing on the right-hand side, we're going to call an expression. We could call it a computable expression, but just an expression, something that involves variables that we've previously defined, numbers, operators, etc. Right? So the right-hand side of this thing is an expression. Can I just call that RHS? And that's the general format that we're going to use to define variables, f equals 12, for example. For those of you that have done this work before, I'm sorry, but there's at least one person in this class who has never taken a programming class. So if you have issues with this, can you write the state of California and tell them that there should be a prerequisite? Otherwise, we go together. I'm very proud if you've never taken a programming class. This is a great space to be. And if you have, then maybe you feel very comfortable. So we've gotten to the idea of a workspace. The workspace will have all variables that are stored. I don't know if I can do that. I know that I can do this. Check this out. Yeah, there it is. Did you see what I just did there? So let's go back there. Let's close this thing. Let's store some variables. N equals 2 to the 64th. What? Okay. Let's do math equals f divided by x. Why am I allowed to do math equals f divided by x? Yep. Let's do science equal t divided by, oh, no, wait. What just happened? Yep. So I can do that, right? Let's pretend for a minute that I wanted to manipulate one of these variables. So anybody have a favorite one that you'd like to manipulate? Science, awesome. Not a math major. You are, man. Okay, do you remember what we said MATLAB stood for? Matrix Laboratory. What did you notice when I opened this variable? And let's go ahead and do something real quick. Let's look at the kind of variable that it is. In other words, the class of variable. You see class? What does it say? At the end of lesson 7, you all will know more about double variables than most people alive. You're going to learn graduate and postgraduate level computation in my class. Brought to you by $3.99. If you act today, double has something really special. But what do you notice when I actually click on science? Watch this. Okay, watch this. You see what happened? I changed it, but what else happened? So now science is no longer, watch this. Let's do the size of science. Apparently science is 5.2. That's the size of science. 5 rows and 2 columns, right?
What I'm confused about is why it's still a double. If it's now no longer just a number.
Because the data within that is double data. And in fact, check this out. Small science. I think this will work. Single.
Is single the same thing as what an int would be? Like an integer?
No, oh my God, stop. Stop. Lesson 3 through 7. No, don't stop, actually. Don't stop questioning.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull aside.
Yep, we'll get there. But watch this. Let's go ahead and test this out. I don't even know what's going to happen here. Are you sitting at the edge of your seat? So guess what? Everything in this is now stored as a single. Should we try another one? Integer science equals int 16 3. What? What's the class there? Yep.
Is it 16? What's the lowest amount of bit you can dedicate to an integer?
8.
8.
Wait, we should probably look up the answers to these questions. Now, you are paying me as a teacher and I have easy answers to this, but I want to start teaching you all to think he doesn't know the answer to all these things, and even if he does, eventually I will have to teach myself. Keep asking those questions because I will do this, but as we're doing this, one of the fundamental gifts I'm going to give you is to teach you to professionally learn this on your own. Yep, keep asking questions though. Oh, I'm so happy you said this. Let's see. I suppose the help button would probably give us something, right? Yeah, I'm so happy you all are now into lab 2. Explore MATLAB. We will become pseudo novices at learning the help menu. If you wanted to turn MATLAB into one of your strong suits, if you wanted to turn it into something that you were going to use to make money, one of the things I'm going to tell you is invest in learning how to use the documentation. And I'll have a whole algorithm to do that, but this is only day 2, right? How many times have I told you I can't teach you anything? Every day I've seen you, right? Because I want that message to, I don't know if it's going to sink in. The sooner we start realizing that I am not going to teach you how to use MATLAB in a meaningful way for you, you are going to teach you that. What I am going to do is give you a metacognitive process, a way to think about MATLAB that allows, hopefully, inspiration for your future. Okay. Too bad your names are on YouTube, because I would really love you to be able to say, shut up, Jeff, and move on without having to like identify who you are, right? Okay. So we'll get more into all that later. Let's go ahead and clear all. How are we thinking about breaks? Should we take one? Maybe, can we do 5 minutes more? 8 minutes more? Okay. So we talked about the concept of suppressing the command anytime. How do we suppress commands? Semicolon. Okay, I want you to do the following thing. Somebody give me some fun math or science. Yeah, Michelle. We're gonna execute a command that we're gonna have everybody do. So describe it out loud. So for example, here's one that I want you to do. I'd like you to add 1 to the cosine of pi over 3 and divide the result by 2, storing the output in something called Jeff's _ crazy. Yeah, definitely. I want you to add 1 to the cosine of pi over 3, divide the result of that calculation by 2, and store the result in Jeff's _ crazy, all lowercase letters. Now I would like you to report 15 digits of the output to me.
Use apostrophes, but you can just write as an S. But you can only
Oh, as a variable? No, I don't think they are. Should we try? You know what the best way to figure out if something's allowed?
It's saying you're not crazy.
Apparently MATLAB doesn't know me. Oh, that doesn't work either, huh? Wait. You want to know how long?
There a variable split name the variable that you're using? That would be a spot.
You see it? Where'd you see it?
63. Now I master the name as maximum.
Yeah. So do you see that you have these questions? One of the best way to get answers to questions when they come up is to break it. Just try it and see what happens, right? That's how I've learned a ton of MATLAB. Like, I'm like, I wonder, and then I just do it, right? I will do my best to answer those questions for you, but better, I will be doing you more of a service if I show you how to do that. And eventually you're going to be like, shut up about all that because I already know how to do that, Jeff. Move on, right?
Okay, so each character is a byte, right?
You're asking me about data classes right now?
Okay, no. I'll look it up.
No, we will get to the answer to that question, but I think that's what you're asking me, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
You need 1 byte for characters, right?
Let-
You have to.
I think that's true. I don't. It might be in Unicode. It might not be in ASCII though. Let's go ahead and try. So I forget how to do the size of variables. Will you post that to the live chat? But the size doesn't give you memory size. It gives you. Oh, it does give you bytes? Awesome. Oh, okay, cool. So what was the answer to your question there, James?
What was the answer?
Check it out. This is so weird. I see myself over there, and there's a 2-second delay. I know your future. So 2 bytes is how many bits? 16. 16 bits, right? Okay. Size of variables. Thank you so much. We'll get there, Cheyenne. We're going to get to the answer to that question. Okay. I like to think about this command window that we have is a read only. So for example, if I go to like execute this again, I can't, right? So this is just a log. It's almost like the captain's log in a ship or something like that, where it just shows you the stuff that you've done before, but it's not manipulable. We've seen that you can manipulate this stuff, and we've seen that you can manipulate this stuff. I think this would be a natural time for a break. Let's take our break now. Can we start again at 11:12? Exactly 10 minutes from now? I'll go ahead and stop the recording. And I don't think I'm going to post it to YouTube at this moment, but I will save it. Michelle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it. Can I save this before I answer your question? Because I worry, you know what I worry about, right?
My question will be on live stream.
No, we're still on live stream. I worry that all of the recording that I just did will be lost because my computer will crash.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's try this again. So what's today? Wednesday, recording 1. Hey, Taylor. Could you? Would you submit that at 12 p.m. today? Yeah, I'm not ready. I don't want to lose it. Yeah. You've just saved your. Where am I typing it in MATLAB?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know what happened. I don't think we can answer this question, but I've tried re-downloading my MATLAB. I've opened it up a few times and quit it and reopened it up. The only thing I haven't tried yet is restarting my computer.
Oh, it's like it's stuck.
Yeah.
Let's see. I remember this for sure. That's not it. So what's the problem is that it's not starting, or that you executed code and then it went into this loop?
I just opened it and it's in
So the
this loop.
entire time we've been working, it's been in this loop?
I've
Yeah, let's-
deleted the app and I've re-downloaded it
Uh-huh.
within this class
Wow,
period,
that's incredible.
and it's still doing this.
Is it bad if you restart your computer?
I can. We'll see. I mean, I don't know what restarting will. But I mean, if I deleted the app and re-downloaded it.
I'm not claiming that that's going to fix the problem
Okay.
at all.
No, I should try it.
One of the things that is really interesting is that sometimes there are while loops running in either your operating system or within MATLAB, and those while loops store stuff in cache memory, or the memory that's closest to the processing, the current processing, and just because re-downloading it or etc. doesn't clear that memory necessarily.
Okay.
So like sometimes there are issues. Yeah. So I don't really know a ton about that, but I do know that one of the first things I do when I encounter problems like this is restart the computer. Yep. To recognize whether or not it's just a individual session problem, like I'm logged in, or if it's an actual code problem, right?
Totally. Makes sense. Yeah. I probably should have tried that first.
Oh, that's okay. I am still becoming a more effective communicator. I don't ever want you all to feel like when you ask something that somehow you should have done something else. The flip side of that coin, though, is what I really want to communicate as your teacher in this class is the can-do attitude. I don't even need this guy.
Yeah.
Right. That being said,
You're making yourself obsolete here.
well, not quite though, because I'm making myself obsolete for stuff that doesn't really merit my time, right?
Okay.
Like, and it does merit my time for sure.
Yeah.
But so think about this, right? Like I spent, I don't know, 15 years thinking about some of these problems, right? There's people that have spent another 30 years writing documentation in MATLAB, right? If you ask me the difference between an int6 and a double, that's not stuff that you can find in documentation. And in fact, if you ask me which should I use for a particular problem, that's not stuff in fact, there are very, very few people that I've ever met other than professional coders in MATLAB that know answers to those questions. So as a teacher, one of the things that I think about is my highest value added is to introduce the structures and ideas and underpinnings below MATLAB, and then to inspire you to be able to see possibilities within those. Simultaneously, if I can get you all self-sufficient, one of the things that will happen is each of you will start to learn syntax that I've never really discovered, right? I don't get paid. When I decided to be a teacher, I hung up my boots as a professional coder, right? Like, put them on the wall.
For you.
And the moment that I did that, what it meant was the amount of time that I had to like play around in MATLAB goes down really, really fast, right? With that said, though, I know a little bit about this, and I'll try the best that I can do to do that. Simultaneously, what I recognize is every world-class coder that I've ever seen teaches themselves, right? Yeah. And above and beyond that, if we can get, I should give the like the American spirit or like the spirit of the Wild West or the spirit of wild coders, right? Yeah. So I'm still working on how to communicate that, but
Thank you.
Coach me.
Will do.
Awesome.
If I find anything.
How'd I do today? Solid C+?
With this question?
Yeah. B, okay, I got a B. A would have been if I could tell you what was going on in your memory. That's caused the problem, right?
Yeah, but that's when I'm taking a computer architecture.
Yeah, CS10. That's a good one. Yeah, so one of the things that's interesting here, you might be on live stream right now. I don't know.
No, it stopped.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Or maybe not. Okay. You can pause it, can you? Somehow?
Can you?
I don't know.
So I don't know if you all can you, yeah, so like this is an example, right? If I maximize this screen,
You already had it. Oh, it's cutting off there.
it's cutting off here. That's a good way.
It looks like it's just the screen is shifted. So if you adjust the menu stuff, maybe it's under video.
Here, you can take
Sure.
the captain's chair here. So I have a question as a console. Should I end live streams at break time and restart them at the next start to make them shorter?
Then you'd have to be posting. Are you posting the live streams on your website after your?
I won't post. Well, I guess I could post them on the Engineering 11 website.
Well, your live script is just what you're doing on the computer, right? Or what is live stream?
The right now we have two forms of recording happening. I'm recording the actual stuff on my computer using a Camtasia, but then we're also recording the
What you're doing on the
through YouTube.
Oh,
And so, like, if I don't stop the live stream, the YouTube video will be 2 hours long, which means when you go back to watch this live stream, if you're like, oh, what did he say at that minute or whatever,
Right.
you'll have to watch 2 hours of content. Whereas I stopped it at break time and restarted it.
his screen's cut off. So like it's cut off
You have
here,
a
so
new
it's
YouTube
he's
video, so
missing
each
some of the
lesson
stuff
would be
here.
broken into
that's
two
just-
So I'm
sections,
thinking
would be
it's something to
broken
do with
into
the screen itself.
Yeah, it's probably just
Yeah,
the
you
screen.
can stop
That's
it
what I was looking at.
if you want. Or people
But I didn't
Okay,
see.
well, in any
That's the
case.
halfway point.
You should install OBS or something.
Yeah, OBS.
Okay, let's
probably
leave
the
that as
best
an
option.
open. Today I'll just let it go, but let's leave that as an open question.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is like,
You want to hop in on here?
yeah, sure.
Let me try to do this.
Is the mouse on here?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yes.
There's not an easy answer to this question right now, huh?
There. Oh, what? Oh, so it's actually just.
I think the screen, literally, just the.
it's the.
Oh, what the?
It's not that. Yeah.
It's just the position.
It's
was off?
actually the position of the Windows. Something to do with Windows. Let me reset this. There. Okay. So.
Oh, a second.
You should probably stop the stream
Oh, well, yeah.
eventually, I guess.
Oh, I'll figure it out. That should be fine. DS Studio. I think we only need Studio. He doesn't need anything else.
I don't think so.
Hopefully this computer can actually take it, because
Well, this is yours, right? It's not the school. Well, it's a school, but it's
Yeah.
you can install your own programs on
Correct,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
Is there easy fix to this?
well, I mean, it shouldn't be very hard.
Let's stop now.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's now 11:12.
No, sure. But
I
he's,
was
So, I mean, literally, it should just be able to set up. Oh, okay.
he's gonna have it so you can see your live stream, your face cam, and then also
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can set this up after we're done with the lecture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it'll probably take like a good 10 minutes. Okay.
Oh, okay. Should I close that window?
Yeah, you can if you want.
Okay. Welcome back. I want to say I fully expect each of you to teach me about MATLAB and about computation. I'm also, this is only the second time I've taught this class, so I have not yet developed the most effective communication systems that I can. Always ask me questions. And I don't want you to feel like you should do something or you shouldn't do something. What I'm hoping for, though, is that I very effectively and routinely communicate that one of the gifts I'm going to give you this quarter, I hope, is the ability to learn MATLAB on your own. And that is a gift from my teaching. So when you learn that thing, I want you to remember, like, he taught me how to do that. And then immediately after, you're like, and that's about it. Maybe not. Okay. So we talked about when active signs are. The next thing that I want to kind of highlight is what we call the % sign. This is a comment. MATLAB does not execute commented code. What does it mean when I say it doesn't execute commented code? Yeah. it doesn't do anything, right? It allows you to kind of, the next line is for lovers of integers. Int 64 of the number 2 plus int 32 of the number 4. Oops, I made a mistake. No problem. We'll talk more about what that means later. But you see that one line of code was executed and another wasn't. We've already talked about this one, the CLC command. What does the CLC command do? Clears the command window. Let's pretend for a moment that you weren't sure what the CLC command window did. You could type help CLC, and then do you see the little link at the bottom, the reference page for CLC? I always get to my reference pages that way because that's how I learned about it. Some of my students call me old, and then I say, yeah, probably true. Call me lazy.
The little question mark button right there at the top of the search bar, it goes directly to documents as well.
Say that again. This one?
Question mark top right.
Top right next to the search bar.
Help.
Yeah, like that.
Oh yeah, and I think the other thing.
Goes to the same thing.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and see the number of ways we can get to documentation, because this is a fundamental skill in our class. So one of them is to do the command help. Another one is to push on this thing. And then I guess we could type CLC, right?
Or you can press F1.
You can press F1?
Yep.
How'd you learn that?
Just hover the mouse over the button. Button.
Oh, that's cool. Say that again.
Hover your mouse over the button.
You're making me feel so, you make me feel so young. Okay, so F1 works. So there's 4 so far, right? So we got we have help, we got the question mark button, we've got the button F1, and then we also have this one, right? Great. So and then we type on CLC. And then it looks like syntax. Have anybody, syntax means basically like what we type into MATLAB, right? Like the actual name of the command. A small description, I would imagine. Could you guess what a description might be? What's that? Yeah, it describes the whole thing. And then this is kind of cool. Did you see that? So I was in this and I said, please show me an example. And it led me down to this example. And then I kind of forget how to do this. MATLAB has this new thing. This is recent. I didn't have this back in the old day when we used to climb uphill in the snow. When we were loading, when we were powering it by mouses on wheels. So this is now a live script. So we'll talk more about live scripts in a bit. That actually shows you the example that they give. So it allows you to kind of take a look at that. We're not going to worry about live script editors, but I just wanted to show you that. So those are all mechanisms by which we can get a sense of how a command works. Oh, did I read? That's weird. 26, 27, 28. Okay. So I think the next thing we're going to talk about is performing basic operations. And I kind of forget. There's some really great documentation on the operations in MATLAB. Let's see if we can find them. It is not always the case that the help window on a particular command is the best thing to do. Another way to do this is to go to you see this? Did you see how I got there? So let's just open the command window, the help one. So I clicked on the little question mark. Follow along with me, please. And then click on Explore MATLAB. if we wanted to learn about basic arithmetic operations, where would we learn about basic arithmetic operations, do you think? You think mathematics? Let's try. Do you see addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division? So every single one of, what are those? What are these now? Yeah, so let's try it. Should we write? Oh. What did we just learn? The plus function only allows two variables, but the plus operator allows three. Do you see, yeah, as many as you want. Do you see something that's kind of interesting there? I might go back, so let's go back to the documentation. You can close the documentation window, hit the question mark. Let's explore MATLAB. Let's go to language, well, I don't know. Let's see what's in getting started. Let's go back to the previous page. So we'll go just navigate backwards. Language fundamentals. And then in this case, I'm going to say operators and elementary operations. You see it? Doesn't really give me what I want. Different mechanism to get there. There. Do you see MATLAB operators and special characters? There it is. How many people are noticing the overwhelm? A little bit, right? So these are all different mechanisms and symbols that we can use to do operations. So let's go ahead and try some of them. We've already seen, let's try, that's called right division. So the little symbol we're going to call that, what is that, a forward slash or backslash? I always forget. Forward slash. Is that okay? So backslash. Take the thing on the left and divide it by the thing to the right. Could you imagine what this one is? What do you think 8 divided by 2 is? 8 left divide 2. This is for matrix inverses. So if I define a matrix to be, this is designed for one person in this classroom. Maybe some of you have taken, I know one person has taken Math 2B for sure. And then I divide a vector to be like B is equal to 4, 5, let's say 4, 8. I can A backslash B, B transpose, and it will take the thing, the matrix on the left, and solve the linear system with the thing on the right. So it's a linear system solver with no and all 15 lessons done. Yeah, super helpful. So that's what we call left division. There's, of course, exponentiation. So if I do 4 to the, let's do 2 to the 6th. Hey, Derek. Hi, Derek. There's somebody that's on this that's not in the room. So check this out. Do you remember how we just defined column vectors? Have we talked about that at all? Not yet, right? So if I use a semicolon, that gives me a new row. What if I wanted to take every entry of that thing and raise it to the second power? MATLAB will get mad. But there's something called the Hadamard operation. Sorry.
Other way around.
Well,
If you do the Hadamard first, and then you do the
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
there we go.
We'll talk more about that as we get to know each other. But those are standard arithmetic operations. And you're kind of seeing how to use the command window as a workspace. I actually want to cover some stuff here. And instead of telling you this, I'm going to pose the following question. I'd like to know what the precedence levels are for the arithmetic operation. So in math, precedence level is PEMDAS, right? So I want to know if I write -4 squared plus 16 divided by 2 times 4. Without executing that command, what's the output? Here's a better question. Can you find in MATLAB's documentation a discussion of operator precedence? Do it. So my challenge to you right now is to figure out operator precedence. Once you figure that out, generate, using that documentation, convince yourself that you know what the answer to that output is, and justify it based on what you've read. Write what you think it to be down, and then execute. For those of you that would like an example of what I'm talking about, so I go to the help window, perhaps I say operator precedence. If you're doing this on your own, do not listen to me. If you're noticing learning how to code is going to take a lot of reading and patience, I should get a raise.
Can we see the what the numbers were?
Oh, yeah. Cool, Michelle. So let's go back to the help window. I now have a second. Here's operator precedence. I have read this entire thing for myself. I'm not going to orate that to you because it's written right there. Can somebody give me a one-sentence synopsis of what this page does, this help page does? What does it tell you? Yeah, tree. Say it again. You can pass. You said you want to pass, right? Oh, PEMDAS. Yeah, except this would be like but it's the equivalent of PEMDAS. What's another way to say that? Yeah.
It's just it's a numbered list ordering the chronological way the program will execute each of the functions.
Okay. So what's another way to say that?
The hierarchy of all basic operators.
Hierarchy of all basic operators in MATLAB. What does that mean in terms of the actual command window? So, and let's use that new language that we had. Let's use the language of expression. So use the word expression. Yeah. If I have an expression that involves operators, different operators, what are operators again? Yeah, so Michelle had this beautifully articulate answer. Symbols that tell you to do stuff with numbers or with anything in MATLAB. So if I have operators, symbols that tell you to do stuff. Operator precedence does what? Tells you how MATLAB orders it. In other words, how does it parse an expression? Have you heard the verb parse? It means break down from left to right. So for example, just like in math, if I take this sugar, how do I do command cut? Plus -4 squared. MATLAB is reading this as a string of characters. This is well beyond the scope of today's class at this exact moment. But this is literally just characters in the command window. But those characters represent ideas. So what MATLAB will do is it will take this entire character string and it will recognize that some of them are numbers and some of them are letters. If I don't tell MATLAB what the native data class that I want for numbers is, let me restate that. If I don't specifically say, hey, 16 is an integer, and we'll talk about what that means later, MATLAB will store everything default as a double. So all numerical data, unless I say otherwise, it will be stored as something called a double. So first thing MATLAB does is it represents this idea in a double, this idea in a double. I mean, it actually doesn't do it in that order, but it will parse all of these things. Which is the first one it's going to actually tell me I have to execute? Exponent. How did you know that that MATLAB prefers exponents? Referred to the list. Because it says right there, matrix power, right? Huh, that's interesting. It doesn't say exponent.
All your doubles are matrices.
Yeah. Every double is a 1-by-1 matrix, which means arithmetic is a subset of linear algebra. That was funny.
I was yelling that this guy likes
How could you tell? So the first thing MATLAB's going to do is do what? 4 squared. What's 4 squared? 16. Then what? Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to add the negative. That's my guess, that it's going to go like this, right? sugar. How do I copy in Windows? Which one's the one that says control? Control C. So first thing MATLAB does would be something like this, and then you're telling me that it then goes the negative of that thing. Let's go back into here. Now what does it do? Are we sure that it does 16 over 2 first? How do you know? Well, math does left to right.
So actually, reach the plus first, and then on the right side of the plus.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
It starts doing the plus, and then it finishes the other.
I'm not sure what the internal representation of this is, to be honest with you. That's not something that I'm privy to. How the coders actually parse this inside of MATLAB itself. But let's see. How do I know that it does? I know that in math it definitely does division before multiplication, right? But how do I know that in MATLAB it does division by multiplication? One way to do this would be to do what? Just execute it, right? But the reason that testing doesn't always work is that one of the things that I'll say is it's really nice to have the test confirm results that are read. Does it say anywhere in this thing? Within each precedent lever, operators are evaluated from left to right. Okay, so what does that tell you about when we have questions about possible bugs in our code, or when we have questions about what we should be doing? What's one of the first things I want you all to think about? Parentheses. Hit that documentation up, right? What does that tell you about the amount of emphasis I'm going to place on you learning how to use documentation? Why? Why do I want you to learn to articulate it for yourself? I know why I feel this way, but start to see if you can articulate the wisdom that I'm trying to impart here. Yeah, Tree.
So there's all set work that previous people have done, and you don't want to redo everything again. So you just continue on that, and so you as a professor cannot teach us it forever. We have to learn that stuff.
So Tree just said one of my favorite sentences of today. You as a professor cannot teach us forever. We have to learn for ourselves. What is learning documentation? Kenny, if I were to teach you to learn how to use documentation, what would that give you 2 years from now?
If I decided to try to put a syntax in and I don't know what it is, and I know how to answer it. Look at it, read it, and then try to figure it out.
Okay. So I'm hoping each of you will see this soon. That I was very pained to see. Let's finish this problem and then we'll get on to the last part of today, I believe. Oh yeah. There's a few last little pieces here. So let's see. So the first thing I did is to get to this negative 16. This becomes 8 times 8 is 16, which should be 32 minus 16 is? Okay. Yeah, we talked about the idea that higher order precedents are done first. That's exactly what that documentation said. Within the same precedence is done left to right. We talked about left division, right division. We have not yet talked about something called ellipses. So let's do something really ugly that I will tend not to do. 12 divided by 2 times 4 minus 5 plus the cosine of pi divided by 3. The entire thing plus 5 divided by 4. You know what? I'm kind of getting sick of writing in this line. I really, is it a space? Yeah, there it is. Thank you. So one of the things you were seeing, if I put a space and a dot, 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 guess what MATLAB allows me to do? Yep. So now I can go, I don't know, answer to the fourth minus 8 plus 0, dot, dot, dot. I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, was answer a matrix? Is that why? So let's go back here. Enter. And then we'll go back here. And then, I don't know, should we do like 4? Does that work better? No problem here. Is one of these a matrix? Oh, I know what's wrong. I don't have an operator there. Did you see that? So it was getting mad at me because I led with a... So what happens when I hit the carriage return, when I go down to the next line, it now reads that as a matrix. So it reads it row by row. Yeah, go ahead. I can do that with shift enter. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, I think so.
It's not, I don't think it's the same thing. You're right in the way that I coded it, but even still though, with the dot, 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 dot is an extension of the same line. Shift answer, enter gives you another prompt in the same thing, right? Yeah, that's right. So I don't know if you all just heard that. So if I do 12 plus 4, shift enter 4 plus 3, shift enter 5 minus 2, I now have 3 individual commands. The other way to do that would have been like this. I think I could do it like that. 4 plus 3, 5 minus 2. So if I put commas in between commands, it's the same thing as if I do shift enter, right? Ellipsis allows me to extend a single command over multiple lines. All of this is ridiculous because if you're doing that long of commands in the command window, I'm saying that something's not going right. Don't do that. All right. I think we're pretty much ready. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The semicolons at the end of the lines, how is that different than not putting anything at the end of the line?
If I put a semicolon at the end, it suppresses that output. Anywhere I put a semicolon. So do you see if I have no semicolon?
Oh, it just gets rid of the last operation.
It doesn't get rid of the operation. It suppresses, so I could suppress the first and third calculation and not suppress the second one. So semicolon says, do what I tell you to do, but don't output it into the command window. So don't show me the result of the calculation that you've told me. Yeah. James.
Pretty much saying, do this calculation, don't store it anywhere, don't show it. And then
Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah, it doesn't store the output in the workspace. It doesn't it doesn't report.
Store it anywhere, so it just kind of performs the calculation.
It does store it. So like, let's watch this. Clear all. What's in my workspace now? Nothing. So if let's say that I do 7 plus 2, suppressed.
Yeah. Oh, it just answers. And answer is your just last.
If I do not declare a variable, the output of my work will always be stored in answer. So for example, let's say that I created a vector, and we'll do this in a bit. Oh,
It overrides every time, correct?
Yep, correct. So like, let's do the vector storing 1.
That just changed how I see calculation.
in addition to teaching you all how to teach yourself, I'm also going to teach you all, I'm going to try to help you all learn how not to do stupid stuff, right? I will talk to you about one of the most painful experiences that I've ever had in my life. When I was a graduate, I want you to do something for a minute. Imagine that you lived or died based on how well you could do MATLAB. Let me restate this. Imagine that you would eat tonight if you could, off the top of your head without looking at, regurgitate back from memory operator precedence in MATLAB. So when you went to go eat tonight, somebody was standing in front of your food, and if you could remember operator precedence, you would eat, and if you couldn't, you wouldn't eat. If you were like me, you probably couldn't get it by tonight. I don't think I could memorize that entire page by tonight. But if every time you went to eat, you literally could not eat until you had operator precedence, how long would it take you to memorize that? Could you do it? If you could not eat unless you memorized that list, could you memorize it? Okay. That is now a professional programmer in my mind. Somebody that takes themselves as seriously as the following thing. When I am learning something about this code, I will bet my ability to feed myself and my family on my ability to write in that language. Now, I'm not claiming that using that mindset to memorize operator precedence is a good use of that energy, right? What I am claiming, though, is when I started to learn MATLAB, I knew that was true for me. If I could write MATLAB, I stayed in my PhD program, I would follow through. If I couldn't, I literally might have dropped out, right? The moment that I was in that mindset, I started to code continuously. So there was a time in which I was working about a 90-hour week, 3 weeks in a row. And the second week, I was almost done with a program. So I had 2 full weeks on this freaking program. And I got to a place where I thought everything should run, and I pushed enter, and it didn't work. And it was due. It was like, that was like a Friday. It was due like the next Monday. Friday night, I'm almost done. I push enter. It doesn't work. Monday morning, the thing is due. I spent 18 hours of my life, 9 hours, actually like 12 hours the next day, 9 hours the day before, trying to figure it out. You know what was wrong? A parentheses. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you the following thing. When we work together, I'm going to teach you to think about how to write code. And I'm going to tell you some stuff that, how many of you are going to eat tonight if you can say operator precedence? None of you are, well, maybe, okay, that's cool. Oh, yeah. So, okay, that statement that you just made is exactly my point, right? None of you are necessarily right now in the paradigm that you're thinking, this class is going to pay my bills, right? And so what that means is we can go MATLAB Lite. And I'm going to give you some advice that in the MATLAB Lite mindset, you're going to think, this guy's fucking crazy. What the hell is he talking about? But this advice is designed for a day when, as you become a professional programmer, you want to avoid mistakes. So the first piece of advice, I call this debugging advice, is the following. Anytime I write an open parentheses, the exact next keystroke that I write is a close parentheses. And then to go inside, I just navigate inside and write whatever it is that I want to write inside of it, right? If I write an open brace, could you guess what the exact next keystroke is? Close brace. So that I never, ever, ever put myself in a position where I create a bug because I did an open brace, got distracted for a minute, forgot to do the close brace, moved on to the next part of my code, and then 180 hours later, yeah.
Would you personally prefer for for and if statements if they just use squiggly brackets instead of the end statement?
That actually has to. So like, I at this moment, for.
Because I don't like messed me up the other night.
I think you have to use the end statement in MATLAB. And here, this is what we'll talk more about commenting and all that. That's what I actually want you to do. When you use an end statement, well, that's a different conversation. That's a different debugging code. Today's debugging lesson is the following. Debugging matters. It might not matter to you at this moment, but if you decide to do this professionally, it will matter. The first lesson that I want to give you in debugging is what? Anytime I write an open, write a closed. And that is a discipline. Open, closed, open, closed, and then go back in and put what it is you want. All right, so let me ask you this. I have two major ideas. There are a bunch of minor ideas. What are my two major ideas for today, for the entire lesson of today? Learning to use documentation is a fundamental skill. The better you are at it, the less you'll need me. Okay, what's the next lesson? Not all code is written the same. Another way to say this is, good habits are hard to form and easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to form and hard to live with. Writing good code is a good habit. It takes forethought, it takes discipline, it takes wisdom. You all may not have had the privileges that I've had in my life to be in a situation where for hours and hours and hours, I get to write code. When we work together in this class, I'm going to share some wisdom with you that you might not understand why I'm sharing it. My prayer, however, is to recognize that wisdom as a gift to you in your future, to avoid pain and suffering. Write good code from the very start. Write code that helps you minimize error and helps you maximize understanding from the start of this class. The first lesson in that, write good code. What's the first lesson in writing good code? Anytime you open a statement, immediately close it, go back in and justify, and then go from there. All right, I will shut up. At 12 p.m., you can submit your Lab 1 reports right up there. For those of you that want to move on, you're welcome to open Lab 2. Let me say this. I have some announcements about Lab 2 that I'll make at 12. I'm going to shut down YouTube Live, do a little bit on Camtasia, and we'll move from there. All right, I'll see you at 12. Bye.
Want to try setting it up?
Yeah, let me shut this down. End the live stream.